Good afternoon, wherever you are. Good early morning if you're in the US. Now, bit of a sad story today, actually. I'd like to deliver positive news, but there's a story with a moral here. And this is something that we've covered in the rules of language learning, if you've seen that on my YouTube channel. In fact, there was a two-parter covering this. But I was talking to a friend of mine recently who reminded me just why this is so important. So a friend of mine, not so long ago, fell in love with a Mexican guy. So there's a friend of mine from the US, and she fell in love with a chap from Mexico. And when I so just trying to get my messages set up here so I can see you if you send me questions. Anyway, so she fell in love with a Mexican guy. She was absolutely head over heels in love with this guy. And I remember when I first met her and asked her about him, she was saying, "Oh, he's just absolutely amazing." She couldn't believe it. And also, she said he speaks perfect English, which she was really excited about. Now, what I knew at that time, which my friend knew that I knew, but I was going to see if she was going to mention it, was that she had been learning Spanish for a few months. So I thought, okay, this is a bit of a coincidence. So she started learning Spanish. She just met this Mexican guy, but she's not at all excited about the fact that he's a Spanish speaker. No, not at all. I didn't say anything. She didn't mention it. Anyway, she was super happy, so I was happy for her. And a few months later, I got back in touch with her, and we had a rather difficult conversation, actually, where she was telling me what was going on. And she was really, really unhappy, because she had basically started trying to practice Spanish with her boyfriend. And every time that she would try practicing Spanish with him, saying things in Spanish with him, he'd kind of play along for a minute, but then switch right back to English and carry on the conversation in English. And she took this as a real sign of kind of disrespect and of lack of caring, and she was extremely frustrated by the whole thing. And so she was saying, what do I have to do? Like, he should want me to learn Spanish, right? I mean, I'm his girlfriend, and this is his language, and I'm trying to learn it. Why doesn't he respect what I'm trying to do here, learning the language? And so that was that. I gave her a few ideas, but a few months later, when I caught up with her, unfortunately, they had split up. They were no longer together. And it turns out that basically kind of this became a real bone of contention between them, and they couldn't reconcile this. And I unfortunately knew exactly what was going to happen right from the beginning. I hoped it wouldn't, but I knew what was going to happen because I've seen it happen lots and lots of times before. And here's what it is. When my friend got together with this Mexican guy, she was most likely unconsciously, from that moment on, offloading the responsibility to learn the language onto him. She was thinking in the back of her mind, right now, so I've got this Mexican boyfriend, now I'm going to be able to, basically he's going to teach me Spanish. And she was quite convinced that was now the biggest opportunity that she had. And it was going to mean that not only she got a great guy, but she's also going to be able to learn Spanish really, really quickly. It's exactly the same thing that happens when people sign up for language schools, when they go to get lessons with a teacher. Yes, they're excited by that prospect, but what they're actually doing is offloading the responsibility, saying to the teacher, right, I'm going to pay you good money, so you're going to teach me the language. Like, open my brain, put Spanish inside. That's what people think, right? That's unconsciously what's going on. And that is why often in language schools, for anyone who's taught in language schools, you'll be aware that a lot of the students that you tend to get coming to language schools are the less motivated, the less competent students, because they've abdicated responsibility and they're looking for the teacher to basically take responsibility for them. Now, so what happened in my friend's case is that she had basically thought to herself inside, right, now because I've got this Mexican boyfriend, he can teach me Spanish, I don't have to really try so hard anymore. But think about what happens from his perspective. So he gets home every night, he's kind of been working all day long, and he gets home to his girlfriend, is really happy to see her. And then what she wants to do is sit there and practice her Spanish. And her Spanish was really basic. So she was sitting there trying to talk with him, and then he would have to kind of sit there like a lemon and be like a crash test dummy for her to try and talk in Spanish. And it was Spanish really wasn't that good, so it wouldn't have been that easy. That's the last thing that he would have wanted to do. It's the last thing that anybody wants to do, right? And so when he switches to English and starts to talk with her in English, it's not because he doesn't want her to speak Spanish or learn Spanish. It's because he just wants to talk with his girlfriend. That's all that's going on here. It's pretty straightforward. But because she was so fixated with learning Spanish and so fixated with the fact that her boyfriend was Mexican and was a Spanish speaker, that she couldn't see through that to the really crucial point, which is this, that they were in a relationship. And when you're in a relationship, it's the relationship that comes first. It's not the language. Like, your partner is not a language practice partner. I mean, if that's what you want them to be, then like at least be upfront with them, right? Here's what my friend should have done. First of all, she should have accepted that she still owns the complete responsibility for learning that language herself. All right, so she still has the responsibility to learn Spanish. Second, she should have accepted that her boyfriend was not a Spanish practice partner. It was her boyfriend, and she has to accept the fact that English was the default language of the relationship, because the relationship comes first. Number 3, she should have taken her language learning outside the house. Sign up for classes, find a teacher, take a self-study course, whatever. But take responsibility for learning by herself and just sit down and do the hard work. Number 4, if she did want speaking practice, then she should find someone who knew what they were signing up for. So that could be a paid tutor or a conversation partner or something like that. And then number 5, she should have used the prospect of eventually being able to speak Spanish with her boyfriend in that relationship to motivate her to study harder to learn the language to that level. Because until you're at a kind of decent intermediate level in the language, it's not much fun to have a conversation with you in the language, because you just don't know enough yet. So those are the 5 things that I would have recommended that my friend do. She didn't, unfortunately, but it's not her fault, because everybody makes that mistake. And newsflash, me too, I've been there, and it is not any fun. I think for us as language learners, we love languages. We care about our languages, and so much so that we can actually let that kind of get in the way of, cloud our judgment when it comes to our interactions with people. It's like when you kind of ever practice speaking with a native speaker, a stranger. If they happen to speak good English, it's only natural for them to want to talk to you in English, not because they're trying to scupper your language learning ambitions, but it's just easier and more convenient. So your number one goal has got to be to get your language up to a level where you can have a proper conversation with the person, and then you will be victorious, because you will be able to speak. You'll be able to hold your own, defend yourself in a conversation, and that is where the balance really tips. You reach Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point, and then from that point on, you are home free. If I had had my Uncovered courses available at that time, I would have given her a copy and would have said, look, go through my Spanish Uncovered course from beginning to end, and then by that point you will know Spanish, you'll be at an intermediate level, and then it won't be so difficult to have a conversation with you. In fact, you'll be able to have a great conversation, you'll be able to understand everything he says, and everybody would have lived happily ever after. But unfortunately that was some time ago, so didn't happen, couldn't do that. But for you, my friends, if you are interested in learning through the power of story in the way that I teach these days, then for Black Friday I'm offering 2/3 off my Uncovered courses, which is a crazy offer, which I never ever do, but I've been persuaded by some nefarious actors to do that this year. So for the next few days only, if you'd like to join up to one of my Uncovered courses, you can get them for only $97. That's my Black Friday offer for you. If you'd like to find out more, go to my website, and that's iwillteachyoualanguage.com. And there you'll see some banners and some boxes. Click on those, they'll take you through to a place where you can find out more about this. Again, that's iwillteachyoualanguage.com, and click on the Black Friday banners that pop up. Cool, I've got some questions. Eric said, when will your short story Norwegian book come out? Oh, great question, Eric. Soon. We've got a lot of books coming out. Here's what's happening. We've got about 10 new books coming out, plus some intermediate series in Spanish and Italian and English. So it's really exciting. But we're kind of dripping them out. It'll be like 1 or 2 a month coming out from this month, I think, onwards. In fact, I saw Spanish, Italian, English in bookshops here in London, a few days ago. But actually, they're not supposed to have been released yet. The bookshop was a bit cheeky. I won't say which one. They were a little bit cheeky, and they put out the books before they were supposed to be released. But there were dozens of copies all over the place. Norwegian, I'm not completely sure. I believe it's in a couple of weeks' time, but I can't tell you for sure. However, if you'd like to pre-order a copy, you can go to Amazon, search for Ollie Richards short stories. You'll find the Norwegian version there. It might not have the finished cover up on Amazon yet, but you can pre-order a copy, so as soon as it does come out, it'll get shipped straight to you. Bearden76, how's your Cantonese going, mate? Yeah, it's going all right. It's not something I haven't been focusing on it much recently, but you know, I use it from time to time. More questions here. Anastasia. Hi Anastasia, how's it going? She says, yes, some people think that if they paid money, the teacher will open their head and put the language inside. Yeah, like a slot machine, right? That's exactly what happened. But you still have the responsibility. It's still all on you. The teacher can guide you, but that's all they can do. Jonathan. Hey Jonathan, how you doing? Jonathan asks, how do you choose which Norwegian to teach? Well, I'll let you into a little secret, which is that for most of the languages now, the new languages that we're coming out with for these books of short stories, Korean, Turkish, Norwegian, Swedish, I confess that I don't speak those languages. But I don't need to, because we have a fantastic team of experts, some of the very best experts in the different languages who are helping us produce those books. Teach Yourself have been fantastic. They've sourced some really wonderful people. The person who's working on the Arabic version, for example, is head of modern languages at King's in London. I could go on. We have lots of, actually, fun fact, the Korean version, which is coming out in Korean intermediate stories, Derek and June from the Michelle Thomas recording are editing and translating that. So that's brilliant. If you saw the Michelle Thomas project that I did back in January, but I released it in August or something, Derek and June are working on that book with us. So that's really brilliant. So we have lots and lots of experts, and they make a lot of difficult decisions. So, for example, with Arabic, there are tons of difficult decisions to make. Even when it comes to, like, French, for example, there are lots of difficult decisions to make there. You know, do you use the passé simple or the passé composé? Like with Italian, do you use the passato remoto or not? Lots of difficult decisions to make, and we have to make these judgment calls. With Norwegian, I am not entirely sure about the decisions that have gone into that, because it's not a language that I'm particularly familiar with. But I can find out for you if you want, Jonathan. It's a good question. Finnish. We're doing Finnish. We're doing so many books, I've lost track of what we're doing. I'm really embarrassed to say. I think we're doing Finnish, aren't we? I'll have to check and get back to you, Maria. Thank you for the question. Jonathan says, I love the behind-the-scenes process. Well, ask away if you've got any questions, Jonathan. I'm happy to divulge any trade secrets. Or just any Ollie secrets. Happy to divulge. Drayton says, why I can understand almost everything, movies, documentaries, etc., but when I start to speak, everything goes wrong. Am I focused on subconscious learning in reading? So you can understand everything, but when you start speaking, everything goes wrong. Well, if you understand everything, then you're in a very, very good place. That's a very good place to actually be. So if you understand everything, you're doing super well. What that probably means is you just got to spend now a dedicated period of time speaking. Hi, Kevin. First time you've got me live? Brilliant. Ask me anything. AMA. So, Dritten, what I would suggest in your situation is that actually you try to create lots and lots of regular speaking opportunities. So you've got the knowledge, you just got to activate it. And it's like anything, right? It's like music theory. If you know all music theory, but you've never actually played the instrument, you can't play despite having all this knowledge, right? So I would do something like just get yourself on italki every day and have 30-minute conversations every single day. Like, that's the sort of thing you need to do. And very quickly you'll find that all that stuff in your head is going to transition to speaking before you know it. So you're in a good position. You just got to kind of do the, get some airtime at this point. Any more questions, guys? Well, I've got lots of you on here live. Quick reminder, whilst I'm waiting for other questions to come in, if you'd like to take advantage of my Black Friday special, then I am doing it. Black Friday is happening on I Will Teach You a Language for the first time ever. It's a big event. All my uncovered courses are $200 off. If you'd like to check these out, go to iwillteachyoualanguage.com/. No, there's no /. That's for the podcast. Go to iwillteachyoualanguage.com and there'll be a banner at the top that you can click that will take you through to find out more information about that. Gosia, not quite sure how to pronounce that. Hello from Poland. Hi, thanks for joining me. Kevin, Jonathan, Maria, Dritten, Anastasia, Eric, Bearden. I know that's not your real name. Great to see you. Gosha said, is it good to learn more than one language at the same time? That's the most common question I ever get on the on my podcast, on the I Will Teach You a Language podcast. Listen, I think when it comes to multiple languages, there are lots of different opinions on this. And ultimately, if it's something you're doing because you enjoy it, then that's the right answer. So if it's something you want to do and you feel good doing it, then go for it. However, if the question is, how can I've got two languages and I want to learn them both as quickly as possible, should I learn two at the same time? And then in that case, the answer is no. And the reason is that to really make advances and progress in a language, you need to go deep. You've got to have depth of focus, right? And so as soon as you start to divide your attention from one language to another, what that means is that you split your attention. So ideally, to learn a language quickly, you've got to be really living and breathing it, speaking it every day, reading it every day, listening to it every day. And you want to go as deep as you can. By adding a second language into the mix, you're just robbing yourself of focus. So I would say it'll be quicker and less frustrating, more enjoyable to simply learn one language to the level that you want, to at least a B2 level, I like to suggest. And then once you're there, take a hiatus and then go to another language and start that with that same degree of focus. And the fact that you have got your first language to a B2 level means that you won't forget it after that. Because the languages, once you get into a B2 level, you've got them there for good. They might get a bit rusty, but they're in your head. But you don't have to listen to me. You could listen to Jonathan, who says, don't learn two, learn three. and yeah, absolutely. Learn 10, why not? All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining me here on this live stream. I'm really enjoying these live streams. I don't have a fixed time because my schedule is just all over the place. So I'm just randomly in and about doing live streams whenever I feel like it. So yeah, that's it for now. See you soon.